War II content, subscribe now. Do it, or you may never see us again. World War II ended in 1945. Hitler was gone. The Reich had collapsed. The Allies declared victory. But the war was not truly over, because in the rubble of Europe, evil still walked free. SS officers, concentration camp guards, doctors of death, men who had overseen the murder of millions now slipping into crowds, changing their names, growing beards, and claiming to be refugees. They thought they could disappear. They thought they had escaped justice, but they were wrong. Because justice didn't always come from a courtroom. Sometimes justice came from orphans with nothing left to lose, from villagers that refused to forgive, from bounty hunters who tracked Nazis across borders like prey. This is the story of the hunters becoming the hunted. This is the story of the forgotten Nazi hunters. When the guns of war fell silent, Europe was chaos. Cities were burned to the ground. Millions wandered homeless, displaced, starving. And among them, hiding in plain sight, were thousands of Nazis. Some escaped through secret rat lines to Argentina and Brazil, but many stayed behind, certain they could vanish into the ruins. But they weren't only being hunted by Allied soldiers, they were being hunted by the people they had once terrorized. In the ruins of Warsaw and Budapest, the orphans roamed. Children whose parents had been murdered, children who had survived camps, ghettos, and forced labor. They had no homes, no families, no future, but they remembered faces. The guard who beat their father, the officer who dragged their mother away, the man who sneered at them through a barbed wire fence. These children became avengers. They followed those faces in the streets, and when the moment came, they struck. Some handed the Nazis to the authorities, others took justice into their own hands. To the world, they were just children, but in the shadows, they became hunters. In small towns across Europe, people knew when a stranger didn't belong. When a man with a German accent appeared, when a refugee had the look of a killer. In Czechoslovakia, in Poland, in the Balkans, villages rose up when they discovered Nazis in hiding. Farmers, bakers, priests, widows who had lost their sons, old men who watched their towns burn. There was no trial, no gavel, no appeals. The people themselves became the judge, jury, and executioner. Some Nazis were dragged through the streets. Others were shot against walls or hanged in public squares. To outsiders, this was mob justice. To the villagers, it was survival and revenge. Not all hunters were mobs or orphans. They were professionals. In the late 1940s, freelance bounty hunters roamed Europe. Some were Holocaust survivors fueled by rage. Others were mercenaries lured by money. They infiltrated refugee camps. They intercepted letters. They stalked trains, churches, and convents. They dragged Nazis from barns and basements. Some delivered them alive to Allied posts. Others did not. And then there were those legends. Simon Wiesenthal himself, a survivor of the camps, he began building files, chasing rumors, tracking faces. He would go on to bring more than 1,000 Nazis to justice. But before him, they were nameless hunters in the shadows of the ruins. No medals, no recognition, just determination that they would not walk free. For every Eichmann captured years later, there were dozens of nameless Nazis brought down by ordinary people who refused to forget. History remembers Nuremberg, but it forgets the street justice that happened in silence, away from the cameras. These people were hidden hunters. Thousands more Nazis would have vanished. Some still did. Many lived long lives under false names, but many did not, because they were recognized by a widow in the market, a child in a breadline, or a farmer in a small village. For the hunted, safety was an illusion. The legacy of these hunters is complicated. Some acted with courage, some with vengeance, some blurred the line between justice and revenge. But together they ensured that evil did not simply disappear into history. The war was over, But for those who had lost everything, the hunt had just begun. Justice didn't always come from a courtroom. Sometimes it came from the hands of the forgotten. And in the shadow of Europe's ruins, the hunters made sure the hunted never slept easy again. Did you know that 97% of viewers are not subscribers? It can take weeks to research, edit, and narrate these videos. No AI here, but it only takes you 1 second to like and subscribe. Please do so, or you may never see us again. And for our next video, click right here. Thank you for watching.